My name is Olivia Hart, and I'm 29 years old. The night my wedding quietly split my life into a before and an after didn't start with flowers or music. It started with a text from my future mother in law. I was at our small dining table, laptop open, half finished seating chart glowing on the screen, when my phone buzzed beside a cold cup of coffee. We were 3 weeks out from the wedding, and my notifications were a constant drizzle. Vendors confirming, friends sending dress selfies, my fiance, Evan, asking if I'd eaten. But the name on the screen made my stomach tighten. Mom Hayes. I opened the message. Your father and I have discussed it. We need $50,000 cash before the wedding, or we're not attending. This is non negotiable. Our presence at this wedding is worth that much to our son. Let us know by tomorrow. I read it again and again. $50,000 to attend their own son's wedding. I stared at the tiny gray bubbles, waiting for a just kidding that never came. I called Evan. He picked up on the second ring, voice easy. Hey Liv, what's up? Did you get a text from your mom? My voice sounded wrong to my own ears, too flat. Pause. No. Why? Check your messages. I listened to him unlock his phone, to the tiny silence while he opened their thread. Then nothing. Long, heavy nothing. Evan? My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I'm calling her, he said, and hung up. I sat there with his abandoned, call-ended screen staring back at me and his mother's text burning at the top of mine. On the coffee table, our wedding binder sat open, full of deposits, timelines, color-coded tabs. I'd built our wedding like I build every project at work, logically, carefully, making sure every piece fit. There was no tab in that binder for groom's parents demand ransom. Half an hour later, my phone rang again. Evan sounded like someone had reached through the line and twisted his chest. She says it's compensation, he said, for raising me, for all the money they spent on me growing up. She said if we really cared about them, we'd understand. My dad's backing her up. They're completely serious, Liv. Something cold settled behind my ribs. What did you say? I asked. I told them to go to hell, he said hoarsely. Told them I'm getting married with or without them. She laughed. Said I'd come running back once I realized how pathetic it would look to have empty seats at the family table. Said everyone would know my own parents didn't think I was worth showing up for. We had spent years navigating his parents' entitlement, the subtle digs about my job, the comments about how, in their day, the bride's family paid for everything, the way they treated Evan's salary like community property. But this was different. Somewhere in the middle of that conversation, between Evan's ragged breathing and my own rising anger, the shock burned off and left something sharp behind. If they wanted to turn our wedding into a transaction, fine. We'd show them what it looked like when we took them at their word. After we hung up, I went back to the text from his mother. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard for a long time. Finally, I typed, I understand completely. We'll make the necessary arrangements. She replied almost immediately. Smart decision. Wire transfer the cash. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new tab on my laptop and pulled up the hotel reservation system. The Hayes had demanded the presidential suite, $800 a night for 3 nights. Evan and I had agreed because it was his parents and it was the wedding. Now, my finger hovered over the cancel reservation button, my reflection faint in the glass. Messy bun, dark circles, a little gold engagement ring catching the light. Necessary arrangements, I murmured, and clicked. The refund confirmation hit my inbox seconds later. Next, I emailed our wedding planner and told her to remove Mr. and Mrs. Hayes from the seating chart, from the calligraphed place cards, from the head table. Those little white cards had been sitting on my desk earlier that day, their names written in looping gold script. I slid them into the trash. As I stared at the now empty space at the table in the mock-up on my screen, an idea took shape. Angry, yes. Petty, maybe. But also, right. I opened another email, this time to the director of the homeless shelter I'd volunteered at in college, the one Evan and I still donated to every month. Hi, Sandra, this is Olivia Hart. I have kind of an unusual question, I explained. I had 2 premium seats at the head table of our wedding and a presidential suite at a nice hotel for 3 nights. Did she know anyone who could use it? Her reply came after a few minutes that felt like an hour. Are you being serious right now? Completely, I typed back. She called me. I have a single mom with 2 kids, finding out, she said. She's been working herself to death trying to get them out of here. This would mean the world to them. Perfect, I said. Send me their info. By the time Evan got home, I'd already made all the changes. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, eyes tired, jaw still tight from the fight with his parents. How bad is it on a scale of 1 to, my mother starts a Facebook war? He asked, trying for a joke and not quite getting there. I told him what I'd done, about the hotel, the seating chart, the shelter family. As I talked, his expression went from exhausted to stunned to something like relief. You're sure? He asked softly when I finished. About giving them the suite? The spots at the head table? I'm sure, I said. If your parents think their presence is worth $50,000, they've shown us exactly how little being there actually means to them. I'd rather give that space to people who'll see it as a gift, not a bargaining chip. He exhaled, shoulders dropping. God, I love you. He pulled me into his arms, and for a moment the noise in my head quieted. Underneath the anger and hurt, there was a thin, bright line of certainty. We were making the right choice. We just didn't know yet how much it was going to cost. The week after we made the necessary arrangements, the world around us shifted in ways I didn't know families could bend and twist. Evan tried his sister first. She still lived with their parents, so, he thought, hoped, she might talk sense into them. I listened from the kitchen, drying a mug that didn't need drying, my hands restless. Jess, did you hear what they asked? Evan said. Her voice, sharp and incredulous, carried through the phone. Of course I heard, and you need to stop being dramatic and just pay them. I froze. Jess, Evan said slowly, they demanded $50,000 to attend my wedding. You're embarrassing them, she shot back. They're telling everyone you make good money, but you're too cheap to take care of your own family. Take care of them? Evan barked out a humorless laugh. By buying their attendance? It's not about money. It's about respect. They raised you. They deserve appreciation. Appreciation isn't a cash transaction, Evan said, voice tightening. Your parents are tearing this family apart. Wow, she said coldly. So you're choosing her over us. She hung up. Evan stared at the screen a long time before placing the phone face down on the counter. He didn't look at me, but his voice cracked. I always knew they were difficult, but I didn't think they'd stoop to this. I walked over, sliding his phone aside and taking his hands. You didn't choose me over them, Evan. They made you choose. That's not the same thing. But he didn't look convinced. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello? This is Lorraine, the voice announced. Evan's aunt. His mother's older sister. The one who sent Christmas cards with Bible verses that never matched her tone. You think you're very clever, humiliating my sister like this, she said. No one is humiliating anyone, I replied evenly. They said they wouldn't come to the wedding without $50,000. We respected their decision. You're marrying into this family, she snapped. That comes with obligations. I'm marrying Evan, I said, not a ransom note. She talked over me, voice rising. My sister gave up her entire career for that boy, her dreams, everything. You owe her for that sacrifice. I closed my eyes. Did she send Evan an invoice for raising him? A dangerous pause. Don't get smart with me, she hissed. You make 6 figures. My sister scrapes by on $30,000 a year. This is about fairness. This is about extortion, I said quietly. Her breath hitched in fury. When that boy walks down the aisle without parents behind him, when every guest sees those empty seats at the family table, you'll understand what you've done. Click. She hung up. I sat there with the phone still at my ear, staring at nothing. The house felt too quiet, the air too still, like everything was waiting for the next blow. The next blow came the day after. Evan's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. This is your father, the man said. I watched Evan stiffen. We need to talk man to man. All right, Evan said cautiously. My wife is emotional about this, his father began. She's hurt. Our son is getting married and leaving us behind. It's difficult. The money, well, it's not really about money. Then why ask for it? Evan asked, dead tired. Because it's about feeling valued, his father insisted. Don't you value us? You're invited to the wedding, Evan said. For free, like every other guest. There was a harsh exhale on the other end. We're not every other guest. We're your parents. We raised you, fed you, put you through school. Do you know how much that cost us? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I covered my mouth. We're asking for a small fraction back, his father continued. It's only fair. Evan's voice went cold. You talk about raising me like you're recouping an investment. I'm your son, not a stock portfolio. And you're taking her from us, his father said sharply. The least you can do is compensate us for that loss. I am not buying your attendance to my wedding, Evan said through clenched teeth. Long silence. You're making a mistake, his father finally said. When she realizes her own parents didn't attend, she'll resent you. That resentment will destroy your marriage. Evan closed his eyes. I want to marry her, with or without you there. Then it's without. And he hung up. That night, Evan fell apart quietly. He didn't sob or shout. He just sat on the couch with his hands clasped, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like he was trying to find the version of his family that lived in his memories. I sat beside him, threading my fingers through his hair. He leaned into me weakly. They chose money over me, he whispered, and then tried to blame you for it. I know, I murmured. I'm sorry. He swallowed hard. I just never thought it would come to this. I pressed my forehead to his. Grief doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you cared. He nodded, eyes shining, breathing uneven. We fell asleep on the couch that night, him curled against my shoulder, me staring at the ceiling, realizing something quietly horrifying. This wasn't the end of the fight. It was the calm before the next storm. The morning of the wedding dawned like the universe was mocking us. Perfect weather, soft sunlight, the kind of day you'd expect angels to hum over. Evan was quiet but steady. I could feel the weight on him, but he kept choosing forward, step by step. At 10 a.m., the Shelter family arrived. The wedding planner rushed them in through the side entrance to avoid guests seeing the surprise too early. When Evan and I walked over to greet them, the mom, late 30s, gentle face, tired eyes, looked like she kept waiting for someone to tell her she didn't belong. Her two kids, maybe 10 and 7, were dressed in their absolute best. Stiff shoes, slightly too big dress shirt for the boy, a sparkly clip in the girl's hair. Hi, I said softly. Thank you for being here. The mom blinked rapidly, gripping her son's hand. I don't understand why you're doing this. Because you're here, I said simply, and it matters. Her daughter tugged the sleeve of her dress. Mommy, the bathtub at the hotel is bigger than our whole room. Her mom laughed, one of those startled, watery laughs. Evan smiled at them too, though I saw him swipe at his eyes when he thought no one was looking. The ceremony was outdoors, under a canopy of trees. Slow-blooming flower petals drifted when the wind blew. The aisle felt endless and weightless at the same time. When Evan stepped out to walk down alone, without a parent beside him, there was a moment, a flash, where I saw him falter. Not visibly, just a tiny drop in his shoulders, a breath too sharp. Then he saw me, and everything inside him realigned. He smiled. My best friend's arm looped through mine as she walked me down the aisle. Not my dad, not his mom, not his father, just someone who loved us, without a price tag attached. As we met at the altar, Evan squeezed my hands like he was grounding himself. The vows, the kiss, the cheers, they felt real, untainted, like the moment existed in a glass box nothing toxic could reach. For the first time in weeks, I let myself believe the storm had passed. Cocktail hour proved me wrong. I was adjusting my dress at the edge of the reception hall when Evan's grip tightened on my arm. I followed his gaze and felt my stomach drop. His parents, his sister, all dressed up, walking through the entrance like royalty returning from exile. What are they doing here? Evan whispered. I don't know, I murmured, throat dry. But they're not on the guest list. They strutted straight toward the wedding planner. I could see the planner's face shift from polite hosting mode to confused panic, then to horror. Evan's mother snapped, What do you mean we're not on the list? We're the groom's parents. Guests turned, heads swiveled. The planner tried to calm her. It didn't work. Evan inhaled sharply. I'll handle it. He walked forward. I stayed back, heart pounding so loudly I felt it in my teeth. When Evan approached, his mother spun. Why are we not on the list? She demanded. Because you said you wouldn't attend without $50,000, Evan said. You didn't get $50,000, meaning, per your words, you wouldn't attend. We never said we wouldn't come, she argued. You misunderstood. You texted cash or no-show, Evan replied. His mother huffed. That was negotiable. That was extortion. This is our son's wedding, she snapped. You can't keep us out. This is a private event, Evan said calmly, and you're not guests. His father stepped closer, jaw clenched. You can't do this. Watch me, Evan said. The venue manager appeared, 6 foot plus, built like he could bench press a small car. Folks, he said, voice firm but polite. If you're not on the guest list, you need to leave. Evan's mother shrieked, We are on the list. He removed us. He's lying. The manager looked at Evan. Evan pulled out his phone and calmly scrolled to the text thread. There it was, the $50,000 demand. The manager read it, eyebrows lifting. Then he nodded and turned to the parents. Please exit the property now. That's when the sister jumped in, pushing toward the reception hall. I'm a bridesmaid. No, you're not, the planner said quickly. Check the program. The sister snatched one off a table, flipped pages. Her name wasn't there. We removed you after your phone call, Evan said. Actions have consequences. His mother switched tactics instantly, like a professional manipulator flipping through a Rolodex of emotional weapons. She burst into tears. Please, she sobbed. Please let us stay. We were hurt. We said things we didn't mean. This is our only son's wedding. We'll never get this moment back. Evan swallowed hard, but didn't bend. You made your choice. You're a monster, she spat at me suddenly. What kind of woman keeps her fiancé's parents away from their child's wedding? The kind whose future in-laws tried to extort $50,000, I said softly. Gasps rippled through nearby guests. People were watching, every second. His mother straightened, seeing the crowd, and raised her voice. He's abusive, she shouted, pointing at Evan. He's isolating our family. She's manipulating him. Someone needs to stop this. Evan closed his eyes, not in shame, but in exhaustion. Then he opened them and stepped forward. Show them, I whispered. He held up his phone to the venue manager again, letting everyone around see the original text. Silence fell, heavy, solid. The manager nodded once. Security, he called. 2 more guards approached. Easy way or hard way? His mother screeched, trying to pull away as they guided her toward the entrance. His father followed stiffly. His sister sobbed dramatically. Half the guests watched, horrified. The other half whispered angrily. Some looked at Evan with fierce sympathy I could feel from across the room. When the doors finally closed behind the last of them, the quiet was suffocating. Evan breathed out shakily. I walked to him and took his hand. He looked at me like he wasn't sure if he'd just lost something forever or saved himself from it. Dinner began in a subdued, shaken hush. The Shelter family was ushered to the head table. The mom tried to decline, but I insisted. You are wanted here, I told her. Please sit. So they did, and something softened in the room. Guests began chatting with them. The kids kept glancing around wide-eyed at the chandeliers, the silverware, the flowers. When it was time for the speeches, I stood with a mic in my hand and looked out at everyone, the people who showed up without asking for anything in return. Thank you, I began, for being here with us, for choosing to celebrate love instead of trying to calculate its price. A few guests teared up immediately. I continued. Tonight reminded us that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who stands with you, not who demands payment to stand near you. Half the room cried. I saw Evan wipe his eyes openly. The storm wasn't over, not yet. But for the first time, I felt the light break through. In the days after the wedding, life didn't return to normal. It rearranged itself into a version of normal we hadn't prepared for. At first, the silence from Evan's parents felt like relief. Thick, exhausted relief. We ate leftovers from the wedding caterer, opened gifts in our living room, and slept curled around each other like people trying to protect the happiness they'd fought hard for. But fractures don't stay quiet for long. By the end of week 1, the smear campaign began. Evan's mother took to group chats, church circles, and social media like it was her personal battleground. According to her, we banned them for no reason, manipulated the guest list, humiliated them in front of the community, brainwashed Evan, weaponized our wedding. She told people I controlled her son, that Evan wasn't allowed to see them, that I planned the entire scene to cut them out. For a few days, we didn't even know it was happening. Then a friend from Evan's hometown sent him a screenshot. Evan stared at it, jaw twitching, while I leaned over his shoulder. The post was long, full of dramatic language about losing her only son to a woman with ulterior motives. Liv, Evan whispered. She's trying to destroy you. But she didn't realize one thing. Dozens of wedding guests had watched her meltdown. Some had recorded pieces of it. And slowly, quietly, her narrative collapsed. Guests started speaking up. Actually, I saw the texts. They demanded money. She screamed at the venue manager. They tried to force their way in, twice. Within a week, her closest friends stopped liking her posts. A couple blocked her altogether. One even reached out to us privately. If you need witness statements for anything, let me know. Evan set his phone down and rubbed his eyes with both hands. I can't believe this is my family. I sat next to him and laced our fingers together. The mask is off, Ev, that's all. Around week 2, the aunt called. I declined. She left a voicemail anyway. Family bonds can be mended. We are willing to extend an olive branch if you two take responsibility for your actions and apologize. Apologize for being extorted. Evan deleted the voicemail without listening to the rest. His breathing was shallow afterward, like even hearing her voice had reopened something raw. We don't owe them our peace, I reminded him. He nodded, but the pain was written in the curve of his shoulders. Then came the sister. Blocked on both our phones, she used a friend's number to send a long paragraph. It started with, I hope you're happy. You destroyed our family. Then spiraled into, you humiliated our parents. They might never recover from this. You're selfish. You ruined everything. Evan read it, deleted it, blocked the number. I'm done, he said quietly, completely done. But he didn't smile when he said it. He just looked tired. Deep tired. By the end of the month, we were settling into a new rhythm. There were good days. Days where we cooked dinner together. Days where Evan made dumb jokes that made me snort laugh. Days where the world looked soft again. Then there were the heavy mornings. Days where Evan sat on the side of the bed before work, staring at the floor with red eyes, whispering, I just can't believe they meant it. I'd sit behind him and wrap my arms around him. You're grieving the parents you thought you had, I would say. That grief is real. He'd lean into me like someone who needed that truth spoken aloud, so he didn't start doubting it. Eventually, he started therapy. Walking into that office the first time was harder for him than telling security to escort his parents out of the wedding. But afterward, he came home lighter, not healed, but opening. I'm learning that love without empathy isn't love, he told me one night while we washed dishes. It's control with nicer wrapping. I dried my hands and kissed the back of his shoulder. I'm proud of you. And then, because the universe has a twisted sense of humor, the invoice arrived. A manila envelope, no return address. Inside, a stapled itemized bill titled, Reimbursement for Cost of Raising Evan Hayes. Line items, every year from birth to 18. Food, clothing, housing, school supplies, medical expenses, electricity, water, toothpaste, everything. Total, $276,943.89. At the bottom, a handwritten note. Since you and your wife have chosen to remove us from your lives, we expect repayment for our investment. For a full 10 seconds, Evan didn't move. Then he laughed. Not a happy laugh. A broken, incredulous, dark laugh you make when reality becomes too absurd to process. They're billing me, he said, for being born. I took the papers gently. We're documenting this, for your protection. We sent it to a lawyer. Legally meaningless, he told us. But keep it, just in case things escalate. 2 weeks later, something unexpected arrived. A card. From the shelter mom. Inside, in wavering handwriting, your wedding weekend gave my kids hope I didn't know how to give them myself. My daughter still talks about the ballroom. My son loved the food. Thank you for showing them kindness without asking anything in return. I felt my throat close. Evan framed the card and hung it in our living room. It's a reminder, he said quietly, that the family we choose matters more than the family who tries to own us. Last week, the wedding photos came back. Every shot of Evan shows him genuinely smiling. Not forced, not strained, just happy. No parents in the background, no tension at the edges. Just us, our friends, people who came because they wanted to. Evan held one photo, him looking at me at the altar, and said softly, it was worth it. And it was. Every boundary, every storm, every bruise left on his heart. Because the life we're building now isn't built on guilt, debt, or obligations. Just love, simple, quiet, earned. His mother sent one last text from a number we hadn't blocked yet. Hope you're happy. You destroyed this family. Your future kids will grow up with no grandparents. You'll regret this. Evan stared at it for 2 seconds and replied, I'm very happy, actually. Thanks for asking. Then he blocked the number. I look at our framed card, at our wedding photos, at the man I married, a man who learned to choose himself and me over manipulation. And I know, family isn't who demands payment. Family is who shows up without asking for anything at all.